Should we sell some of these products? Okay. How do we want to sell them? There's tons of different ways. There's tons of different ways, okay? You can do carts. You can start here. You can start from customers. You can just go invoices. Like, there are 50 million different ways to get to the cart. It literally is one of the core concepts inside of Adilas, okay? And so when Adilas was originally created, it was created as a sales and inventory tracking system. And so because that is such a core piece of it, you can get to it from anywhere, 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 anywhere. So what I'm going to do is, let's just say I happen to be anywhere in the world here, and we're completely unrelated to invoices. Here's a way that I often will start an invoice if I need to. I will click here, I'll click on invoice, and I'll type in new. And then I'll hit go. Bam, quickly prompts, what do we need? I'll say start the cart, and now I'm ready. You guys like hot tamales?
Yes.
Great. So I pulled in some stuff, and it found a bunch of stuff that related to hot. And so you'll see that it brought in more than just our hot tamales. It actually brought in some other pieces of the puzzle. Okay. I only wanted to get some of these. How many of these do we want? 5 packs? That'll last us a day? I'm just teasing. Okay. We'll add it to the cart. Boom. We have hot tamales in the cart. If we needed to edit anything, say we didn't want the word hot there, this is just a demo. Like, I realize hot tamales, you're not really worried about it. But if you want, once it's in the cart, you can technically edit that description, and it doesn't hurt anything at any point in time, okay? You could do like this. You know, whatever you wanted to do, and it wouldn't make a bit of difference. There are some settings here. This is actually a great way to apply discounts on a specific line item. You also can change quantity. You can change price. You can change a bunch of different things. You can even change tax categories. This little guy right here is usually your friend, but if you're doing crazy tax stuff, it potentially can be your unfriend. Checked means have the system recalculate. Unchecked means I actually am manipulating it. And on a standard thing like candy, you don't want anybody even to touch your taxes. But on pieces like, say for instance, a trailer or a big vehicle or something like this, you have totally crazy tax stuff. It's like, where are you going to register it? Where did you buy it? Where did you do this? Where did you do this? So you have to have some of this flexibility in there. So it is kind of built in. We're going to just say update it. And all of a sudden, I now have a new description on my invoice. Okay, what else would I like to add in here?
M&Ms.
M&Ms. So I know that this isn't the part number, but this is part of its description. But I believe that I put it in as M&M and part of the description. I'll just hit search, and it actually, because it found one of them, it actually said, hey. So see this barcode search right here? I actually have it set up so it will do this. This is a corp-wide setting, and I didn't mean it to do this, but basically there's a corp-wide setting. See how it perfectly matched the barcode, and it found that, even though that was in the description as well. Because it matched the barcode, I have it set to automatically show me this page, okay? And usually what would happen is if you did have a barcode, you could technically set it up for add one to the cart. I know we're kind of deviating here, but I want to show you this quick little setting. You can see how, because I matched that perfect barcode, it actually brought me to the page, which I could potentially have flex grids. We tied it to a smart group button that basically had some different pricing categories, okay? I purposely had it doing this. I forgot that I had put this in as the barcode number. Let me just show you what happens if you don't do that and you actually find a perfect match with a barcode with a different setting. I know we're kind of deviating, but hopefully it'll help you know what's going on. I'm going to hit home for just a second. We're going to go into settings, and I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to go to corp-wide settings, and I'm going to start scrolling down the corp-wide settings and get to the barcode stuff, which is kind of down by the invoices. Tons of information. You can tweak things out crazy here. Okay, so basically this little button right here, Enable Barcode Quick Cart, it has a bunch of information here as far as like what you're doing. But if I have that enabled and I actually enter a perfect match with the barcode, or as if you're doing it, it will automatically add that to my cart. Okay, so I want to show you what it's going to do. I'm going to enable this. I'm going to go down and save my settings. Okay, so I'm going to return to the home page. Say I was here and I was actually at the view cart page like I was. Okay, we have our hot tamales in, and I decided to type in M and M. Okay, now that happens to be the perfect barcode that I have on my M&Ms. When I hit search this time, guess what's going to happen? It'll automatically add that to the cart as if I zapped a barcode. Watch this. We'll hit search. Should find a perfect match. Bloop. I'm right back at the view cart page, and we virtually just added one M&M because that's how the barcode quick cart setting works, if that makes sense. If you have it turned off, what it does, and if it finds a perfect match, it'll land you on that page, which then gives you tons of options. So, like, say for instance, you had a bunch of those smart group buttons as far as the different pricing. If you actually wanted it to land on that page, you could technically use a barcode, zap it, and then you land on that page, you scroll down, and then you can say, hey, let's deal with that tiered pricing. You want me to see? Let's change it, and I'm just going to show you how that works, okay? We're still in the same invoice. We're just kind of playing. I'm going to go home, settings. I can't remember which number it was, but we're going to just scroll down again. We're going to start getting down towards, and I know I'm just flying fast, barcode quick cart. We're going to turn it off. You have tons of different sizes of labels that you can do for your barcode printers. And we're just going to kind of keep coming down. Just real quick before I go down, like there are tons. For your elements of time, you can set up your default. So when you land on your elements of time that we were talking about earlier, you can literally say, hey, do I want calendar? Do I want this? Do I want current month? Just the current week? Daily? Like you can set it up. You can tweak it out. I'm going to scroll down. We're going to say save the settings. Now this time what we're going to do is basically I'm going to go back to my cart. And this time, I already added one of the M&Ms, but this time I'm going to pretend that I was actually doing the same barcode search that we just did. This time when I hit search, it'll take me right to that product page, which then will allow me to use some of my cart favorite, the tiered pricing pieces. We'll hit search. That's the same as zapping a barcode. Boop. We land on the product detail page, and I scroll down. I can now see some rules for my smart group buttons, okay? So between 0 and 5, it's going to be for 87 cents. Between 5 and 12, it's going to be for 80 cents. Between 12 and 50, it's going to be for a total price of $24. And then we did this one just to be funny. But basically, you can set up these rules. And if you have the admin permissions, you can technically get in here and edit these type of things. How many did we want to do? Let's play with these rules for a second.
Let's do 11.
11. So ideally, it'll fall right here, so it'll bring it in at 80 cents a piece, right? We'll go 11 of those, add it to the cart. Click. So 11 at 80 cents. Perfectly brought it in according to that quantity. Okay, so that barcode quick cart, that one little setting inside the corp-wide settings allows you, do you want to just zap it and add it like kind of quick retail, or do you want to like zap it and then say, hey, let's choose. What do we have here? And how can we play? Do I want to see flex grid? Do I want to see this? There's tons and tons of options. And so basically we have a cart. It has 3 items. 3 items, what this means is you can see my quantities are way higher than 3. Okay? What it means is how many physical lines do I have in it. So when you see something that says cart 7, it basically means there's 7 line items. Because it gets really funky. Imagine if you start mixing like, oh, I have certain ounces and certain grams and certain cups and certain eaches. And like, there's no way to physically be like, you have. So what you do is we basically just say, hey, how many line items do you have? Okay, awesome. You can enter, this is a corp-wide setting. I have it turned on here. It doesn't have to be there, but if they had a PO, you could enter it. Non-printing notes, printable notes. For most pieces, if it was this simple and it was just hot tamales and M&Ms, we could technically just say, hey, you know what, I'm actually going to kill that guy right there. So now I have just those 2, and I'm just going to say, you know what, let's just check out. And then we can determine how it's going to pay, and we can go from there. We can even split payments. So if we wanted to split payments, say they're like, I know that this is a teeny amount, but this is just for concept, okay? So basically, say something like this. Say they're like, hey, I have $5 cash. We basically can click $5 cash. It automatically tells me what else I'm looking for down here, okay? It's trying to help me out and saying, hey, they still owe $8.95. So I could go $8.95 and say they wanted to run this on their debit card, which is Visa, MasterCard, whatever, and I say Okay, go ahead and create the invoice. What it does, it'll prompt say, hey, you said debit card and you have merchant processing. Let's go ahead and do it. I don't have all of this information. I'm going to show you a quick little practice thing. This one here, because it's a play site, it actually it's tied to a practice piece. And so I'm going to basically pretend like we just swiped a credit card. I'm just copying and pasting. This is fake data. So say, for instance, it's sitting right here, and now I have my card reader, and I'm ready to swipe it. So as soon as it says I'm ready for my card reader, the thing is blinking in that field. So basically, it's the same as going like this. It does that whole thing, and as soon as I hit tab, it'll populate all of my pieces into the different pieces. Okay? Just so you know, this is 100% a fake credit card. You can write it down as much as you want, but it's a fake credit card. I'm going to go ahead and submit it, and you'll notice the amount is very important. I'm only doing a portion of this. I'm going to say submit, and basically it's going to go ahead and create my whole invoice. We now have an invoice, 107, that's its magic ID number. We have what we got, and we also had a dual payment on this piece, okay? And so this one happened to have the main, 2 line items, and 2 payments. The requirements are a main, 1 line item, and 1 payment. That's the requirement, but you can technically stack that as much as you want it, if that makes sense. A lot of people, this is currently what we call the printable invoice with nav, okay? And it's basically a setting, nav meaning navigation. You can do a printer-friendly version, which basically takes all of that stuff off, or if you wanted to, I'm going to just go right back to it. There is also another option that you can do, even a mini version. And so a lot of people who are actually doing receipt printing actually will end up printing their invoice off of the much smaller version. Corp-wide setting as well, you can actually go in there and tell it exactly what to do by default as far as like where you're landing at. Just so you can see how this works, like currently my default setting is printable invoice with nav, okay? Watch this. I'm going to go home for just a second. I'm basically just showing you settings. It's kind of interesting. Our goal here was just to sell something, and now I'm like, by the way, you can tweak it here and you can tweak it here. That's just how I think, but hopefully you can follow the logic, and we'll keep going. Settings, corp-wide settings, we're going to go down to some of the invoice settings as far as like what happens when I actually create these invoices. There's tons of stuff. Do you want thank you lines on there? Do you want signatures? Do you want a second line of signatures? Do you want any sort of exclusions or verbiage or, hey, returns are this way? I happen to put a huge big old long disclaimer in this one. Here's where we're actually talking about right here, okay? And don't worry about these numbers. Don't get hung up on these, because as we add more permissions, these numbers change. But basically, they are kind of somewhat in the right position. If I wanted to automatically go to the mini version, I just have to select it right here in my corp-wide settings. And when I go down to the bottom, so you can see how we can say current use PO. If I wanted to, I could turn that off as well. There are tons. We'll just go down. I'll stop. I'll stay focused. Save settings. So what we did is we basically just said, hey, we have an invoice, and we want to basically go right to the miniature invoice at that point. I'm going to show you a little shortcut. I'm going to click on Edit or Printable of this particular invoice. Okay? I'm going to say More Options, and I'm going to say Duplicate this baby. Okay? So instead of me searching and doing this and this and that, I'm going to just say, I instantly pull the whole thing back into the cart. It's ready to go, and I'm going to say Checkout. This one, instead of splitting the payment, I'm just going to say, hey, you know what? They paid by a check. It does require a check number. So I would just type in whatever the check number happened to be. I say, you'll notice it says, hey, you're fully satisfied. Create the invoice. Boom. Automatically, because I set my settings, it automatically now plays, hey, cool, I'll dish you off to the small one, and you can just print it from here. There's a quick little link right here. You could just go print. This is an interesting thing. This is a pro and a con, but because we're working on web, we basically say, hey, we're just a basic system. We have no clue what you're actually going to connect to the back end. Whereas software is loaded on your physical machine, and then you're like, oh, I'm connected to this and this and this, and it has this specs and this specs. As soon as you're web, you can't necessarily connect to a peripheral device without some sort of intermediate piece. And the reason that is, it's actually for your benefit, imagine if you went to a site and you clicked on a link and they automatically were able to connect to your printer and just started printing out your whole ream of paper, okay? That's a web security issue. And so some people are like, why doesn't it just print automatically for me? And the reason is it's a web security thing, okay? It's a piece of cake. You would literally just go print. It would pop up your printer dialog box, and usually I've got a couple other ones here, but you would have one that was your receipt printer, your Star Micronics, your Zebra, your whatever it was, and you say print. And if you needed multiple copies, you could even just say 2, 3, whatever, if you needed to. That's how you do it web-based, because there's not actually that software piece of the puzzle. That's how you do that. I'm just going to cancel right now, and we'll just go back home. There's a link right here if you happen to have left it here, and say you're in a quick retail mode, boom, new cart. We're right in, and we're ready to go. As long as we're covering carts, and I know that some people hate to hear this, but you need to read this particular help file, okay? This particular help file also even deals with like getting items into your cart, different options. Comes down. What about barcode scanners? How do you navigate there? What other type of things do we have going on? It comes down and says, what are some of, like if you're trying to save a cart, say you got interrupted or somebody came to the counter and they're like, oh man, and you had already rang up 10 items and they're like, my wallet's in the car, I'll be right back. And there's 2 people behind them. Save that cart, okay? You're going to save it. Basically what it does is it creates it into a quote, and then you can kind of run from there. So it talks about...
Then you could do somebody else, and when they got back...
Then you just restore it to cart. Okay. Exactly. And maybe we'll run through one of those. Selling time, actually connecting elements of time to it. It talks about a ton of things. Connecting customers. They're not required, but it's an option that's available for you. Special invoice types. There's a ton of them. Okay, if you sell big ticket items, what do you do for that? And way down at the bottom, and on purpose, this is at the bottom, how do you apply a discount? It tells you 3 different ways to apply a discount. Manual, line by line, or cart as a whole. Okay, and so there's tons of stuff, and I purposely put it at the bottom, and if you have a problem with that, I'm sorry, but we're going to scroll back up and just go back to the view cart. So we're looking at it. Let's say that we have that scenario. Somebody actually... we rang up a couple items and somebody wants to do something, okay? So let's just sell them some more of those M&Ms, okay? Boom, M&Ms. It comes here. Hey, they wanted 3 of those. And say we're going to also do some of our hot tamales. Here's a whole bunch of things that come up, and say I'm going to do 12 of the hot tamales. Okay? And so basically at this point, the person's ready to pay, and you're saying, okay, it's $13.69, please. And they're like, ugh, my wallet. So you go like this. It's literally this easy. Save as a quote. Boom. Instantly, you get a quote number. You don't even have to worry about this one. Don't even worry about that, okay? And instantly, the new person's right there. You're saying, yes, ma'am, what can I do for you? Oh, I like M&Ms too, okay? And so you basically do the exact same thing. Boom. This one should drop us right here. We can either add the quantity right here. This is just a quick add. This is not tied to the special, okay? So if I just add it, it's going to come in at 87. Even if I do a ton, remember how this one had the tiered pricing on it? If I use this field, guess what? That field has no clue that it's tied to a tier, okay? The tiers are kind of special. Or I can even do advanced add to cart. I'm not trying to be lengthy here, but I'm now servicing the next customer. The person comes in and say we're going to do 30 of him, and we're going to actually run a super special for him, okay? This one's going to actually be at 75 cents a piece. And I'm going to say, and maybe he had a promotion code or something like this. Who knows? But anyway, oh, I need to enable this guy. See this little button? I was looking to click it. And what happens is this little price helper field is telling me, hey, the thing is turned off right now. This is another corp-wide setting because sometimes people like it, sometimes they don't. But eventually you have to do it so that it actually can kind of help you calculate like what's going on. This is in the advanced add to cart mode, and now it's enabled. I can click it and say add it. Instantly I just added it. 75, ended up adding that. Boom, we check this person out. He's doing it $24. How are you going to pay? Hey, we're going to do Visa. Okay, I can leave it just like that, and I can say, if I enter a code here, it physically says, hey, I'm assuming you ran that separately. If I don't, and I have the ability to do merchant processing, it'll prompt me. So I can technically even change this value, and then it'll automatically pull that across. Some people like to just click right here. This automatically pulls the full payment in every time. I'll just click it. It's not going to hurt anything. Watch this. Click. Okay? It pulled in the 2405. Every single time it'll pull in the full amount, even if I have another payment. If I'm back here and I wanted to split between Visa and MasterCard or something like that, say I wanted to do 12 bucks on Visa, I could say create the invoice, and because this is blank, it'll automatically pull in that 12 value. Create the invoice, boom, $12. Okay? I still have that piece selected in my thing. I'll hit tab, submit. This is how you would do merchant processing basically, okay? Hey, looks to me like you still need to run some more. And then I can either do the 1205 as cash or as another credit card. Here we'll do another credit card, 12.05. And pretend that we're going to do it as a MasterCard. And if I leave it blank again, what ends up happening is that basically I can come right back to that card piece. There are some settings you can have this automatically selected. I don't have that set up in my settings. But what happens is as you use Adilas, you figure out which settings do I want and which ones control it. And I know that that's sort of a mystery right now, but we're trying to get more and more education so that we can actually help you. If I click here, I'll just paste that again. Click. It brings it across with the 1205. I can enter my CIV card, any sort of other information I want. Submit. Once the invoice is fully satisfied with its full amounts of payments, it says, oh, I'm not even going to give this person an option to add another one. I'm going to automatically take them out of that mode and take them to their thing. So we basically have $22.50 by the time you add your taxes, and then we have a couple little payments here that ran through. Okay, and you'll actually see that it actually did some smart stuff on me. It could tell that the card that I submitted was actually a Visa and not a MasterCard because of what it starts with. Visa start with 4s and MasterCard starts with 5s, and etc. So it kind of is doing some background checking on you. We haven't hit any errors. We've been running pretty smooth. We now have the person who came, who was there, and who had the hot tamales and the M&Ms, and they're like, hey, I got my money now. We've serviced whoever else is going through the line. We're now going to go talk to them. Where would we find that? We know we've saved it. Where the heck is it? Quotes. It's under quotes. So what I would do is I would just go right to the quotes homepage and see what happens to be there. If you're doing this tons, you're going to have more and more and more and more. But guess what? Your top ones are going to be the ones that you were basically doing. If you wanted to, you could check it out, or you could go right to the restore, okay? Say you checked it out. Hey, you're the hot tamale guy, right? Yeah, that's me. Perfect, no problem. Restore it to cart. Bloop. I'm instantly back into that mode where I can now deal with this person, okay? Say we do some more. We could even save this again. Say he added it and something else happened to him. He had to take a phone call. I could go back and back. So say, for instance, he wanted some Snickers bars. So I said, hey, as long as I'm here. Oh, that's not how you spell Snickers, is it? S-N-I-C. Okay, you can see how it didn't find anything. Say he just wanted one, just a quickie for the road, okay? He's here, he gets a phone call, and he's like, oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Are you okay? You just go like this. Hey, no problem, buddy. You saved the quote again, okay? It now has a little bit more added to it, piece of cake. He goes about his way, you help the next customer. When he's ready, you get back to his thing. By this time, you already know it's 30. So say you're somewhere else, and you're like this. You're like, yeah, you were number 30, weren't you? You pull it up, and you're like, okay, let's restore this baby to cart. So anyway, you can save it as many times as you want, but that's kind of how some of the stuff works inside of Adilas. Okay.